Hello and welcome to today's video where we are going to talk about TIA portal, PLC programming, Siemens PLC programming. And today is the first part of a series of a couple of videos, maybe 3, maybe 4 videos. In the end, we're going to have to set up a simulation for a tank system where we use a lot of analog values. We're going to use an HMI, we're going to use a PID controller. So there's a lot in the series, but we are going to start with the first step with the HMI, right? The human machine interface, a touch panel. Therefore, this is what I've already done. I have created a project and I have a controller in our project, a compact PLC. This compact PLC is very convenient. It has digital inputs, digital outputs, and analog in, analog out already integrated. We're going to use those. In the first step, we want to hook up somehow a touch panel. I don't have one physically here because I'm at home and I don't have this kind of hardware here, but I will simulate it. Therefore, I will take a new device, right? And we want to add an HMI. There's several panels depending on your TIA portal version and license. You will see more or less. As I have the professional and advanced license even, this is basically I see everything. If you have just the cheapest or the basic simple version of TIA, you will only see the basic panels, but we're going to concentrate on the comfort panel for now. Comfort panel, I want to take the 7-inch because that's what I have at work actually. And yeah, I want a TP700 comfort, touch panel 700 comfort. Comfort is just a little more advanced display rather than the basic panels. I will call you touch panel. And now, very important, there's a firmware version, right? I could choose any because I'm simulating it. For this, it's also not too important which one you choose. With the newer one, you have new features. If you choose the newest one and you download to the physical device, there's an automatic firmware upgrade going on, right? Or update, upgrade, whatever. Because the HMI is actually running this display in software. It's Windows based, so it installs the newest version of that tool. I always take the newest version. Now, important, there's 2 ways of doing this right now. There's the way with the so-called device wizard down here, and there's the way without the wizard. The wizard helps setting up a lot of things. As I will do it now manually, I want to deactivate the wizard for now. The main thing the wizard helps you setting up is the layouts of the screens, alarms and diagnostics showing, and communication to the PLC, right? We're going to set that up manually. So I will do that. Usually I leave it on, but for now, of course, I leave it off. This will add the HMI to my project here. It takes a second or 2 depending on your PC's speed. My PC is rather fast, so there we go. Right now, this is actually a lot of strain putting onto my PC because we are basically opening another software inside a software. So I have 32 gigabytes of RAM, and right now I think 6 gigabytes are taken by TIA portal. So it's a lot, but that's how it is. If your PC is a little bit slower, it's just slower. There we go. So the first thing we want to set up is the touch panel and the controller here. They need to communicate, right? For the communication, we have the so-called devices and networks, and there's a network view here. Right? The network view will start. Don't go to the topology view. Stick with the network view for now. What we have to set up is actually, this shouldn't be there. What we have to set up is a communication between those two. A communication is a connection. They need to communicate. Networking is just basically putting the wire into it. What we want to do is directly connect those two, meaning they can communicate. So I can drag and drop to the panel here, right? Hard to see, right? Let me zoom in. 200%, and here we go. So those two, I want the connection, and it's an HMI connection. You see there's more, but I want an HMI connection just from here to the panel. This will automatically create this kind of communication. And now if you go to your touch panel, right, to my touch panel here, there's also something called connections. Let's check this out. Connections, boop, boop. I open it up and I can see, I have an HMI connection 1, that's the name. This is the communication driver because they need to communicate, and we are communicating to controller, which is our partner here, there. So they have a communication now. What we could also set up, very quick, is we could have an access password. This password, if you don't have a password on your PLC, leave it open, right? If you have a password, you need to put it in. Right? I do not have a password. If I would have one, you can check that here under controller, right? The PLC device configuration. Double click on the PLC, and there is down here something called safety, security, protection and security. And I could have an HMI access, and I would have to put passwords here, right? Not concentrating on that right now. I will have full access. I don't need any password. So no password, meaning this is empty. But here I can see they are potentially communicating. Good, great. That's what we want. The next thing, if they want to communicate, they have to push some data back and forth, right? Some data back and forth. What we want in the first step is just PLC tags. It would be better to have a data block dedicated for it, but I want to take just simple PLC tags. Therefore, I open my PLC tags. I have my default tag table, and a little trick. Here we go. A little trick for the advanced ones. In my PLC, I have now under local modules the controller itself, which is a compact controller. There would be I/O modules too, but it's a compact, so the I/Os are in there. And I can go to I/O tags in my details view, and I directly see here a list with all the available addresses right now that are already connected to something, my I/Os. So I take my first one here, this one, and I will say this is my analog input. I want the next one, this one here, QW. This is my analog output. And I want also two digital inputs and maybe also one digital out. Maybe this is empty tank. Maybe this is fill in tank, just some random buttons, right? And this is, I don't know, LED indicator. So I've got those, and I want those on my HMI. The most simple way now, as we are working in TIA Portal and everything is connected, is I actually can make this float. Or here we go with the trick again that we just learned. I can go on my HMI here. I can go to screens, and I have one screen. It's the setup here. This is the one you can see when you start the HMI. And now I can click only one time. One click, not double click, only one click on my default tag table here. And you see down here in the details view, what can we see? We see all the tags that have been created so far, everything that we created and everything the system has created. So the easiest way now, if I want to connect, for example, my empty tank button or whatever bit my tag onto the screen, I can just drag and drop. Right? You see it would be created here now. Easy, done. Now they communicate. That's it. I don't want to do that. I want to do it a little bit, of course, better. I want to have the following. On my screen here, as soon as I'm in here, I have on the right side here my task cards, right? I have my toolbox. You see it, my toolbox. This looks a little bit like Excel, right? Like not Excel, PowerPoint, or any graphical tool. What I want is the following. I want a push button. This here is a button, right? I want a button. I can just put it on here, right? Left mouse click and hold pressed. This should be my fill in tank. And then I have this one here. This should be my what was it? Reset tank whatsoever. And then I want my this one here. This should be the fill level, right? This is my analog input. And I want this one here. this is going to be my analog output. You see now, right now it looks empty, it looks ugly, but that's how it is. And the last one, this one here. So for the fill level, just by the way, for the fill level, we took a bar chart, was it? Yeah, a bar chart. For the, this is a slider, right? A slider that we can change here. You see that on the side for the analog in. And we have this button here as the LED, which is just a circle, just a stupid circle. So let's focus on each of those individually. Just by the way, what I'm doing right now is with those. Now I'm going to change here the value, right? I'm going to change the input. Here you see it, the input address. I'm going to really physically change the input. You should not do that. The best way would really be to use a data block. We'll get to that in the next video. But the first step is just the PLC HMI connection to get into that. So right now it's not the best practice to use directly the input word here. I would use a data block because now I'm overwriting the real physical input. That isn't too smart. Good. Let's concentrate on those first, those two. Right, those two. Maybe let's take, actually one should be a button and the other one should be this thing here, a switch. So we see as many things as possible. See this? Switch. Let's concentrate on the button first because that's the most standard thing. If I have the button, I can double click, I can change the text, or I click and I have down here my properties window. I can of course change the text. I don't want to change the text right now. What we want to do, you could change appearance, and so this is, you can click around here in this, you can actually not make any error. It's just about visual stuff, except for security, of course. Here we need password and so it doesn't matter right now. I want, if this button is pressed, right, if you press it, we want to fill in the tank. If I release it, we don't want to fill in the tank. So we want to set the bit when I press and we want to reset it when I don't press. Therefore, we have on this button so-called events. Right? You see this here, events. Let's go to events and I have click, press, release, activate, deactivate, change. There are several things that can happen with this button. I can click it, like click, click. I can press it, press. I can release it, release. Activate, deactivate if it shows up on the screen, if it doesn't show up on the screen anymore, and change if there's anything happening with it. The thing we want to do, you press it, a bit is set, you release it, a bit is reset. I could have on the press, set a bit, release, reset a bit. There's a standard thing for this. On press, here we can add functions. There's a drop down. I can click here on the drop down and I can search. You see there's a lot of things and a lot of things hidden in there. What we are searching for is actually editing bits, and we want to set bit while key pressed. This means, is my face in the way? Yeah, my face is kind of in the way, so let me read. Sets the bit in the specified tag to 1 as long as the configured key is pressed. The system function returns blah, 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 blah. Sets it to a 1 as long as it's pressed and resets it afterwards. That's what it says. So this is the most useful one. Set bit while key pressed. Now we have to select here a bit. Make a guess. We can just either again on the tag table, I can search for my fill in tank. I can just drag and drop to the red here. Right, you see? Or I could here on those 3 dots, I can click and I can select my controller, the PLC. I have PLC tags, default tag table, and fill in tank. And that's the one I want. Bop. Here we go. Now if we press the button, this is set. If we release the button, it's reset. Simple. The first thing, this was a button. Next, the switch. The switch, we don't need the events. We can use the events, but try not taking the events because there might be errors that you make if you're a beginner with this. A switch is directly bound to a tag. So if you go on a switch, properties, you will see here I can link a tag directly, press on the 3 dots, and I can see, this is my empty tank. Done. That's it, right? If you select the switch, if you click on it, it's emptying the tank. If you click on it again, it's releasing the tank. Now it might be a little bit stupid clicking on it twice or so. You can change the format here. I can make a switch with a graphic. right? Now it looks like this, or a switch with the text. Now it looks a little bit like the button, and it's very similar, but you have to click it twice. Once is activating, once is deactivating. I want to say here, what is it? Empty tank. You see the text changes, and emptying tank. Well, I don't know how it's spelled, doesn't matter. Now this, I don't like how it looks like. I can change the appearance here. I want the text also to be white. Done. Not looking in this part here too much right now, because it's already 15 minutes. Oh, I don't have any time anymore. Let's hurry up a little bit. No, let's not hurry, but let's look at the other stuff. Then I have the other bit thingy, the other Boolish operation. If I drag and drop here, you can see it always wants to snap to things. If I click down alternative key, the Alt key, I can just freely move it. I like that more. This should be the LED. For LEDs and so, you see we don't have properties again. We cannot link a tag directly. We have the so-called animations. Right here I have animations. I click on animation, and there we have display, and we can add new animations. So let's click on new animations, and there's appearance and visibility. Visibility, we can make it's there, it's not there. Appearance, we can change how it looks like. So let's click on here. I need to link a tag now with the dots again. I will take my LED indicator, and here I can, down here, I have to say what's happening in which range. So if I click in here, I have if the bit is 0, it should look like that. Now again, if the bit is 1, it should look like that. So maybe if it's 1, it should be green. Done. Right, that's it. That's how it works. If this bit is now 0, it looks like this. If this bit is 1, it looks like this. Done. See how easy that is actually. Next thing I want to do is for this one here. Right? For this one, I want to see the current status of my analog input. So for this, again, I can go to properties, and you can see in general, I can directly link a so-called process tag. I click on the 3 dots, and now I can only see 2 things. That's strange, right? That's very strange. I can only see 2 things. Why can I only see 2 things? Because this chart is not looking at Boolean values anymore. We need an analog value, kind of, right? An integer value in our case. So I can put my integer value, you can see it here, int, in here, my analog input. Done. Now this is going to display my analog input. The last one, this one here, we could also change how it looks, the appearance, and so on. Play around with it a little bit. If you have any questions on it, just put a comment below. There's already so much in this video. Don't want to strain the time. Maybe the last one on this, I can just simply change the scale. So I want to positive, negative values right now. Doesn't make sense for a tank, but it doesn't matter. So this is my analog display, and I want to change things in an analog way. I have the this one here, however it was called. What was the name? The slider, right? The first annoying thing here, I have to up and down. Don't want to move it up and down. I want to move it from the left to the right. Therefore, the only thing here, properties, we have the layout, and in the layout I can find down here scale position and bar alignment. Right? The scale position you see is what's the orientation? Is it on the left side? Is it on the right side? And the bar alignment is which way do we move, from low to high, from left to right, right? From left to right, left and right, huh? Or from right to left, right? Now I can push this thing here around from left to right now, actually. Play around with this a little bit, but this I like way better right now in our scenario. Good. The only thing I need here, right? You see it, properties general. I need to select the process tag. Let's see. I get those integer values again, right? The same we had before. And this should go directly to my analog output. It would be best to have a data block later on. Done, right? I save my project. And this is basically already all the stuff we need to configure. A hint here. All the variables I've used so far, they are all on the PLC, and now we made a link to the HMI. The HMI here in the left side here has the so-called HMI tags. Under HMI tags, I have my tag table here. If I open it, I can see all the tags that we have used so far, right? All the tags that we have used. And they are now existing on two sides. Two sides. The one side, and this here, is the HMI. It exists here with this name. The other side, there, right, is the PLC here, right? They exist on both. And they need to be linked somehow. So this is in the connection here. This connection is the link between those two. This is the connection we set up earlier. What we can change here as well is, for example, an acquisition cycle. As this is an asynchronous communication, whatever that means doesn't really matter. We're sending out data very slow. Here we say once per second. Maybe let's crank that up. Once per 100 milliseconds. HMIs are not built for fast communication. Right. Last thing here, what we can do actually is, for example, I can rename a variable on my HMI. I can name this, for example, like that. And you see, it is not changed on my PLC. Right? The link is still there, but I can change this on the HMI without changing this on the PLC. And this works through the link, so be careful when changing names now. I will make that, of course, not that stupid. Here we go. So let's test it out. I have my PLC. I want to simulate now to really see if that works. Click on my little simulation button. If you don't know how simulation works, I've made a video on this earlier. You can go and check that out while I'm setting this up here. Should only take a minute. I download it now into my simulation tool here. And yep, I know what I'm doing. I'm downloading this and I want to start it. There we go. Now my basic variables are in here. Let's push that to the side. Because I also need to now click on my touch panel here, on my HMI. And on top here, also start the simulation for my HMI. This takes a minute or two. Right, here we go. I need to do something in the other simulation right now. See, I can now push things here. I can press buttons. Right, and some stuff happens. It takes 1 minute for me because my PLC simulation is still bulking up. If you've got any questions, right, or any hints or whatever, put it in the box below, in the comments below. The next video in the series is going to be about the analog value processing here, going a little bit more in detail. Actually, not analog value, databases, data blocks, right? I want the communication, I want a better communication than through the input outputs. Yeah. So the next video is about databases, then one about analog, and in the end we will have one video about PID controllers. Yeah. So here is my simulation for my HMI, right? Let me push that up here. And I have a second simulation. This is my PLC. Let me push that up here. Right? Yeah, that's fine. So let's see if I change this here. You see the number? This one here? Analog output. It's now controlled through the HMI. You see, I can only go from 0 to 100 because that's the scale here. On the other side, I have the analog input, my level of the tank. I can change this here on my whatever that was called, on my simulation. And you see, I've got a problem, right? The scale is way too small. I can only work with values between -100 and 100. Let's change that very quick in my TIA portal. Let's make a small change in my touch panel, screen 1. I want this to go from, so I double clicked on it. I want this to go from 20,000 to minus 20,000. Right? It looks ugly now. It looks ugly. So let's change the scale. How many intervals do we want to have? 20,000 might be a little bit too much. Maybe like 10. Nah. This is actually changing. You see it at which interval we have the changes. So maybe every 1,000 we want a gap. Every 2,000, whoops, not 200, 2,000. That might be good. Yeah, 2,000. Maybe even every 5,000. Then we have those small divisions. I don't want small divisions. I want a label on every. And there we go. This is how I want it right now. You can play around with how it looks. That's pretty easy, actually. So I want this, and I want to restart my simulation here. That should look way better. And we're almost done with the video. Half an hour, that's good. Here we go, this works just fine. Then I have my input, which I have to control from the PLC because it's in PLC input, right? And you see this changes, whoop-de-doo, whoop-de-doo, whoop-de-doo. And you see the communication is a little bit slow every 100 milliseconds. That's how we have the communication, every 100 milliseconds, not every millisecond or so. So it looks a little bit slow. That's what we've got. Let's press the button here. Doesn't really work. Let's put the switch here. Doesn't really work. Yeah, doesn't really work, those two. This one will work, the LED indicator, but I cannot change it. It has to be changed from the program. And this is exactly the stuff that I meant with data blocks. Because right now, what we can see, all the stuff that we have been using so far, you see a double point P here in the address. That's strange. This double point P indicates that it's a periphery input. It is the physical input. So if I press the button here, here's what the PLC does. It reads this, but also reads the input from the input module. From here, right? From the physical input. So which one is stronger? That's the problem. That's why one reason why we're going to use data blocks the next time. But therefore, you will have to stay for the next video and yeah, or put it in the comments below, put the question there. HMIs, simple setup, right? That's pretty much it for now. Thank you for watching. If you've got any questions, if you like the video or so ever, leave a comment, ring the bell, subscribe, and you know the drill. That's the internet. That's how it works. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time around. Bye-bye.